It is my pleasure to introduce to the stage and welcome to LMU David Chase, whom you all know his credits. I don't have to mention them, but I will just a few. Northern Exposure, the creator of The Sopranos, and now this lovely film, Not Fade Away. Please help me welcome David Chase. So I read that you said it was personal but not autobiographical. And could you elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, the events didn't roll out the way they're depicted here on the screen, but it's personal in that it represents my feelings at the time about that music and about love and discovering things. But there were a few elements that really did have to do with me, and others that have nothing to do with it at all.
How do you reconnect with the personal, with the musical past? I mean, how do you go back into that era and into that feeling?
I never left it. I'm still living like in a way, I have a kind of an adolescent brain, and I listen to a lot. I still listen to a lot of that music, and my wife and I used to listen while I was writing this. We'd listen every night, like for hours, and we remember it all. And it reminds me where I was when I heard that song, and who said what when I heard that song, and I haven't played any of that music since I finished the movie. Really, I think maybe it's finally over. Yeah.
What does one come first, sort of the imagery or the scene or the music, or they intertwined? I mean, how did that sort of relate in the development of the screenplay even?
All I knew was I had kind of lived through this. I'd been in this really like stupid, not really a band at all, but three or four guys who played music together, and then I'd see like the Jim Morrison, the Oliver Stone movie, and Control, and these movies about backbeat bands that really made it, and I just thought, well, for all the guys, and there's millions of them who started a band and didn't make it, I'd like to make a movie about and for them, people like myself. So that was the first kind of imperative.
Because I was so incredibly moved by the Bala High moment at the end of the film, and I kept I felt so good and so positive and so upbeat about what was sure to be a failure with this band. But was it always your intent for us to feel good about the failure? Is it the ride?
Yes, it was. It was always about. I mean, the way I see this movie is, well, I see it a bunch of ways, but I think there's always a real dichotomy in a war in every person between security and freedom, and we all want to be free and be free spirits and be poets or whatever, or criminals, whatever it's going to be, and have nobody tell us what to do or what to think, and at the same time, we're social animals, and so we need to be part of something. And we come from families, and we want to stay part of families. And families tend to limit us and tell us how to think and what to think. And there's that constant battle between being held like a little baby and feeling very secure and being out there completely by yourself. And the way I see this movie is Douglas is a member of that family, and at the end, he's by himself. And it was my feeling that at the end he would feel he'd be lonely but free, and certainly set up to start the next phase of his existence.
I feel like a lot of writer-directors have a very particular style. Like, Larry David will have Seinfeld, Curb Enthusiasm, Sour Grapes. They're all kind of in the same realm, but you have, The Sopranos and then this, which are very different from each other. And I was wondering kind of what particularly drew you to each project, if there's like one thing in particular for each, and if you had plans for something after that might be totally different from both of these.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what to do next, and they would be different from both of those. But to me, The Sopranos and this are kind of similar, actually. They're both family stories. They're both about Italian American families. They both take place in New Jersey. There's a certain level of psychological violence in the family in both cases. So to me, I feel more of a similarity than a distance. I don't think it is The Sopranos. I think it's, but I do feel they're cousins.
I think Brad Garrett's character in the film was sort of talking about how they have to kind of make compromises as well. I was just wondering if there was any point in your career where you feel like you've had to make compromises, and if so, which ones were like more necessary than others?
I never made a compromise of any kind. In the entire 80 years of my career, I have never sacrificed quality and honesty, ever. No, of course, I've made compromises. Do we have to talk about this? Plenty of them, creative and otherwise.
But I know that you studied film in school.
Mm-hmm.
And what didn't you learn that you wished you learned?
The thing that I'm thinking about, I don't think you can learn that in school.
And what is that thing?
I don't know what you call it. I don't know what you call about it. Imagination? I think you can work imagination like a muscle, probably, but I don't know that being in film school widened my imagination at all. I mean, the best part of it was studying films that other people had made. And, of course, you don't have to go to film school for that. But I will say this. What I did learn in film school, which I don't know if you even have to teach this anymore, is how to shoot and edit a film and put the sound on it. And I don't know if everything that you hear is now digital or you still work in film at all. But by the time I left film school, I knew the principles of making a movie.
So what advice would you give to young filmmakers?
I don't know, just live inside your head, you know. It's not good for relationships or anything else in life, but it is good for doing imaginative work.
And with that, we will say thank you so much again for sharing your wonderful film. David Chase, people.